What's going on, guys? Unknown Player here, and today, once again, we've got a bunch of stuff to talk about. There's a huge secret area on the European Dead Zone that I wanted to highlight, a rumour about a Prison of Elders arena mode that Bungie actually responded to, as well as some Iron Banner and other things I wanted to discuss as well. So let's begin with the main thing I wanted to talk about, which is the secret area in the European Dead Zone. Essentially, it's an enormous space that you can't actually access through any content, so no mission, adventure, or quest takes you here. It's completely locked off and serves no purpose currently, and as you can see, the path leading to this place is blocked off with a giant fallen barrier which never comes down. I believe the first person to post this was a YouTuber called CloudLXXV, who made the first video I saw in the area. I'll link it down below, and full credit goes to Cloud for posting this. Now, there's a lot of very complicated ways to actually glitch into this area if you're really good at that kind of stuff, but as it turns out, you can also get in there like I did without glitching at all. You simply drive there, so no glitching or going through walls or funny business whatsoever. You literally drive there on a Sparrow. The way you do this is through the Taken Strike, which of course is PlayStation exclusive, unfortunately. And I remember ages ago playing the Strike, and I noticed this normally blocked off area was unblocked, and I assumed it would stop you later down the line, but that is not the case. You can simply drive through there only on this Strike, and the path is completely unblocked, and there's going to be a very long series of tunnels, and eventually you'll reach this massive area with a fallen base. Now, I'm not sure if Bungie intended for this to be unblocked. I kind of doubt it. I feel like they forgot to put the barrier in there for the Strike. And again, the fact that you can't access this place anywhere else in the entire game is not used for anything kind of tells me this might be an accident. But like I said, you can simply go here just with a Sparrow, no glitching at all required. So the thing with this area is that it is a massive space, but there's nothing actually to do here, and it doesn't really seem unfinished or untextured. It seems pretty finished to me, but there's just nothing to do here. No scannables, no things to interact with, and of course no enemies at all, even though of course it is a clearly fallen area. Now, if I was to guess, I would say it's most likely to be some kind of quest location. That's what my money would be on. I think this either will be part of a quest or was part of a quest that might have been scrapped from the game. Now, of course, for stuff like this, people are always going to say it's some cut content or DLC stuff, but honestly, I don't think that's really the case where this is some major content being held back from us, because if Bungie was to add this area into Patrol tomorrow, let's say, there'll be nothing to do here. There's no caves, no lost sectors, no areas that I think are big enough for public events even. It's just a very long kind of winding road with a couple of areas that I don't think would serve much content, especially not inside Patrol. So I definitely wouldn't jump to the conclusion that this is some major cut content for a DLC, because unless they add more to this space, there's nothing to do here. Plus, it's not like the EDZ actually needs more space as it is. It's kind of massive. I kind of wish this was an IO or Titan, someone that needs more space for sure. But my best guess is that this was or still is related to an adventure or a quest. Maybe it's time gated, but it just does feel like a place where you'd go and take out some Fallen in waves, and then maybe a boss shows up at the camp. You can also see on the map to show relative where I am on the EDZ, and it's kind of just beyond the Mavic or Mavic Square area, and itself is mapped out. You can see the actual terrain on this map, so it is actually definitely supposed to be inside the game, but it just seems to be locked off for some reason. Now, the main thing here, of course, is that Fallen base. There's no signs of any Taken or Cabal or any other race, just the purple banners of the Fallen, which if you don't know is called the House of Dusk. That's actually their name. And we don't know much about them, just that they're scavenging from the House of Devils and Wolves, and even Varix is sending them supplies from the Reef, which I covered in a recent video, but it seems to be remnants of other Fallen houses kind of mixed into one, and they seem to be all over here. This is the one kind of main structure in this secret area. I did, of course, look inside the building structure to see if there was anything of interest, any scannables or enemies or things you can do there, but of course there's nothing, just a kind of empty space. The only one that seemed a little bit unfinished was the very top room on the highest level, which was a little bit weird in terms of lighting, so maybe that one wasn't finished, but for the most part it was pretty fleshed out. The crazy thing about this place is that you can actually go as far as you can see. At one point, I look over this huge winding road, and you can actually go down there. I'll show in a second, but the whole area actually loops around back to Mavic Square where the Blight is for the Taken Strike. So it's just a really weird space, and it's kind of mind-blowing just how big the EDZ actually is. I'm sure you must be able to fit IO in here like at least 6 times or something, and it's kind of crazy how disproportionate this place is compared to the others, which I hope get fleshed out more in DLCs. So the question is if this is a time-gated thing that we'll see one day, or if it was completely scrapped, but it would be a shame to never go here. But there you go, just a really cool hidden area that barely anyone knows about and never gets mentioned. So I want to show it off to you guys, and of course comment down below what do you think of this place, what it might be useful, and if we'll see it one day properly accessible in the game. So next up, let's talk about the rumour of Prison of Elders inside Destiny 2 and that it might have been returning, which is actually confirmed to be false by Bungie. So this came up because a Reddit user called XXOAce actually pointed out there were a couple additions added to the database very recently that included some Prison of Elders icons and also text, which is very strange. So pretty regularly since Destiny 2's launch, we've seen quite a lot of updates and patches, hotfixes that of course change things, and also with that they do change the code and kind of add and remove certain lines. And on the 26th of September, there was an icon for Prison of Elders added into the game, and then more recently on the 12th of October, so only a couple days ago, they added the name and icon of Prison of Elders into the Destiny 2 database, which led a lot of people to believe this mode might be added into the game soon. For those of you that didn't play Destiny 1, Prison of Elders was an arena-type mode that was set in the Reef, and Varix the Friendly Fallen controlled this sort of Colosseum-like prison, where you fight waves of enemies and then a boss, and it was the main PvE content we got in the second expansion instead of a raid. So of course a lot of people were worried this might be the same thing for Curse of Osiris in December, but that is actually not the case, and it was confirmed by Bungie to be not true. So a couple hours after the post, Cosmo from Bungie, one of the community managers, said there are no current plans to bring Prison of Elders to Destiny 2. This is just some leftover bits. Pardon our dust, just some dust and echo. So essentially saying this is accidental code, and he confirmed outright there are no plans to bring Prison of Elders into Destiny 2, which is pretty cool to know. So there you go, shuts down the rumor and also kind of confirms a lot of people were worrying, kind of concerned that maybe the Curse of Osiris will not have a raid and instead we'll get this reskinned version of Prison of Elders, which wasn't the greatest activity. It was okay, but definitely nothing compared to a raid. But especially a reskinned version of this Destiny 1 activity wouldn't be the best thing to have inside a DLC. So it's very good that isn't the case. And as of right now, we do know quite a lot of things about the expansion and what's going to be inside it that I've covered in plenty of videos, but we still don't know what the main endgame PvE activity is going to be, if it's going to be a raid or not. I mean, the one thing that I want the most, and I think is actually the most likely at this point, is a Mercury Vex raid, which I think the community would go crazy over, and that would definitely be the best thing they could have in this expansion. So now you know, if you hear a rumor about some Prison of Elders returning, it isn't true, just some leftover code. It is still strange how they added them in multiple times in recent updates, but it's nice when Bungie actually confirm these things, and it's why it's always good to wait and see how rumors pan out, because Bungie will often call out things that aren't true within a couple hours, because obviously they don't want false rumors or false expectations about their game, whether they're good or bad. So next up, Iron Banner, which of course has been the biggest topic of discussion since its very first launch a couple days ago. Now, one of the big differences from Destiny 1 to 2 is that your light or power level doesn't mean anything anymore. That's always been the big deal about Iron Banner and Trials, but not in this game. Now, the fact that Iron Banner doesn't take into account your light level actually goes against its own law that Bungie set out, and tons of people have been bringing this up. Now, the backstory behind Iron Banner is different because in the Crucible, everything is on an even playing field in terms of your level, and it's supposed to be a training exercise from Shaxx, but Lord Saladin, I guess, is super hardcore, and things in the Crucible he thinks are too soft, so to properly prepare for these enemies and threats, he always thinks we should train without limits on our light, and it says only the strongest survive, which is actually the motto in the description for Iron Banner in Destiny 2 that you can still see right now. I saw a Reddit user called KippyFTW point out a pretty interesting quote that Lord Saladin said to him, which is to set limits on your light is to stifle your potential. The Crucible is not enough. Embrace the Iron Banner. So this again is Saladin saying there shouldn't be limits on light. Iron Banner is not about that. Yet inside the game there is a limit, so the game kind of contradicts its own dialogue, and the mode really tells you a different thing from what the lore is supposed to be. And I feel like it might have been a recent decision from Bungie to make levels not matter, because it is strange how the entire lore of Iron Banner has been about this one thing, and the characters still say it, Lord Saladin says it, but he doesn't follow his own rules, so it's very, very strange. So let me know your thoughts on this down below in the comments. I know it isn't really a big deal not having a level advantage, because it was hardly noticeable anyway, so I really couldn't care that much about the level thing, but I do still think it's very weird how the lore doesn't at all match up for this mode. So next up, a PSA for all of you hunters out there with either bad RNG or maybe living under a rock. Make sure you grab this thing from Xur while he's around, the Knucklehead Radar Helmet. This is hands down the best exotic for the hunter inside all of Crucible. Obviously not very good for PvE content, but in terms of Crucible, Iron Banner, Trials, this thing is going to be amazing. It works for all three subclasses, all weapon types, always have your radar, and this is essential. And it's part of the reason why Mida is so good and why you see it so much. The ability to keep your radar is really important, and even more so in Destiny 2 because the radar is slower. They kind of nerfed it a bit, so having something that keeps it is going to be even better than it was in Destiny 1. Unless you really want to collect stuff, I honestly wouldn't worry about the rest of them. I mean, the fighting line is a bit of a meme at this point. It's just so bad. I mean, it isn't the worst thing in the world. It does have a purpose of taking off shields and swapping and kind of reloading the mag, but that purpose itself isn't very useful in the game. So hopefully this thing gets buffed, but right now, honestly, it's not a very good weapon. The Peacekeepers I can't speak on too much because I'm not a Titan, but they seem okay if you like SMGs, I guess. And the Wings of Sacred Dawn, probably the best looking exotic in the entire game, and probably one of the most gimmicky. It's just not that great of a feature. To be able to float in midair, it's just going to get you killed. So this thing, I kind of wish it was better than it was, but the one thing I can recommend is the Knucklehead Radar. Make sure you grab this and give it a shot during Iron Banner. But there you have it, a really interesting look at a secret area inside the European Dead Zone, some Iron Banner stuff, Prison of Elders, and a recommendation of the best hunter exotic in the game by far. As always, if you enjoyed the video and want to help support the channel, then a like rating down below would be much appreciated. If you aren't already subscribed, then make sure you do so, because I've got a lot more videos on the way, of course. And if you want to watch another video from me right now, then you can, of course, click the image that's just appeared on screen. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.